Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 12 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Luce, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the Dog Whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle, from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
Well, Denny, this evening I'm doing really good because, I had today off, and I have been enjoying just time here at the house. And we just got done with dinner, and I made sure I was enjoying a couple of good beers with dinner. And give me a second to undo this real quick so I can show you what I'm drinking.
Okay, look at
and
that.
I think it's a little iconic that we're drinking. Well, I'm drinking Gourds Gone Wild from Tampa Bay Brewing Company. It's a pumpkin beer.
It's a little late for a pumpkin beer.
Listen, we've got extras left in the fridge, and we bought these. I bought these for Megan specifically.
Okay.
And there's still one more in the fridge.
Okay.
So,
there you go. Down it.
I'm going to drink this one
still.
And we're going to put this back
in the frost, buddy.
Put the lid back on so it stays nice and cold. But yeah, things are good. I'm enjoying this beer from Tampa Bay Brewing Company. Again, it's called Gourds Gone Wild. And what's in your glass today, and how are you doing?
Well, everyone might hear a frog in my voice, might hear me clear my voice. I'm going to try to mute whenever possible so I don't hack up some phlegm or whatever. But it seems like my sinuses are draining. I think we had the same problem a month ago or whatever. And then last night it went down into my chest, so I kind of got some groggly chesty stuff. But I'm feeling pretty good. So it wasn't enough to cancel the recording. But yeah, you might hear a little bit different thing in my voice. But I'm doing well. I have this week off. Like you, Chris, I'm going to enjoy some relaxing time, ease out the end of the year. I do go back to work the week after for 3 days. I can take 2 weeks off, but it's okay. I'll go back to work 3 days and then take a nice 4-day weekend into the new year. But what's in my glass? Because again, I'm not feeling the best. I'm only drinking one beer tonight. So I've been drinking a lot of water, a lot of tea, trying just to flush my, get my head clear. But I am drinking Heretic's Shallow Grave. It's a rich, smooth porter. And this did win the a medal in the World Beer Cup in 2014 and the 2016 Great American Beer Festival silver medal winner. Yeah. And I think I might have had this on the show not too long ago. I can't remember, but it was it was a 16-ounce beer. I want to make sure I had enough beer to last for at least a little bit of the show. And it can get warm if I don't drink it so fast, so that, it'll still be in here for the majority of the show. And look at that nice, dark, robust porter. And I'm drinking it on my Prodigal Sun glass.
Tell me about that glass. Where'd that come from?
So this glass is from the Prodigal Sun Brewery in Pendleton, Oregon. And Pendleton, Oregon is like halfway between Boise and Portland. If you're going to take I-84 all the way from where I live to Portland, where my family lives. And this is a halfway spot that we like to stop at, eat lunch, drink some beer, and then carry on our way. And they make some really, really good beer. So that's what Prodigal Sun is.
So did you grow up in Portland?
So I didn't grow up all in Portland. We did live in Portland for a few years. We lived in Portland proper. We lived outside in Aloha and Beaverton and Hillsboro.
Okay.
So we lived outside back then, back in the 70s and 80s. That was separated by like a lot of rural road to get to each of these towns. Now it's just one big giant metropolitan area. There's no longer separation between the different cities. They're all combined into one. So
interestingly enough, I live in Hillsborough County. So
okay.
But do you still like to keep it weird?
No. That's why I don't live in Portland. I'm not. I mean, I can be weird, but I'm not weird like that. I'm not Portland weird, that's for sure.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, Chris. Well, we missed you last week. I hope you guys had a fantastic time. I did okay. I had our diehard watchers on Facebook that were helping me out, asking questions for, letting me feel like I was, talking to someone else besides myself. So it went up pretty good. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the show or
I
not.
did. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
it sounded like you had a lot of fun, and a lot of
Yeah.
people were, and a handful of people were participating. So
Yeah.
that's good. They didn't make
Yeah.
you do it all by yourself.
No, no. And I did struggle trying to figure out how to get the Facebook thing to work. I did a test. I guess I did a test thing that really went live. I didn't realize it till the next day when I saw there was a minute and 30 when I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing work. I thought it was just a test. And then I ended up deleting that because that was embarrassing. But then I went live and it looked like everything worked pretty
All
well.
right.
So,
Good.
so you can't leave me alone.
I prefer not to. I mean,
Yeah,
I always enjoy this time. And it was funny because when I texted you, I went, oh my gosh, because we didn't have a date for our Christmas party until about a week before it happened.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, so we're doing our Christmas party. We're gonna have to skip the episode. So
The show went on.
hey, it
The show
did.
went on.
And it's cheers to you for holding it down while we were partying it up in downtown Tampa.
Oh, good.
So,
Good. Well, it's worth it. You got to take care of your workers, right? Show them a good time.
We
Show
try
them that,
to.
yeah, at the end of the year, all that hard work pays off. Now you can have some fun.
We definitely
Okay.
try to.
All right. So let's get started with the show. Before we get too far in, I always want to let anyone new listen to Tap to Craft podcast know what we are all about. We are an educational podcast. We like to focus around everything craft beer because we want to help assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you listen to episode 194. We're recording a little bit earlier. This show won't be out for 2 weeks, well, a week and a half, I guess. But we're recording on Monday, December 20th, 2021. This is our last episode of the year, and we didn't miss it again. Once again, 8 years we haven't missed an episode. Even for holidays, we do it. And if hopefully you guys will come visit us on Facebook because we do record this on the Monday before release on Facebook Live. If you have Facebook, go and you follow us. If you don't, go follow us on Facebook, our page, Tap to Craft Podcast, and just look for a notification that says that we've gone live and just join us. You don't have to join us for the whole show. Just come in and say hi, for 5 minutes, maybe 10, 15 if you can, or a half hour, or like some of our diehard listeners that join us for the entire recording. We love it. We love interacting with everyone, and it's fun. You get to kind of see how the show is made, and you get to see us live in person.
And screwing stuff up too. Don't forget about that.
Of course. We always do that. But in this episode, we will be discussing a few things. I was hoping to have a short episode, but you know what? I've got stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about losing untapped unique check-ins. You've heard it from me before. I keep saying, you know what? It feels like my number keeps going down. I don't understand what's going on. Well, you know what? I've got an answer for you because it is going down. It really is. So
no.
Stay tuned.
I'm gonna check my numbers too because I hit that. I hit a specific badge the other day or a couple weeks ago, and just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're okay.
Okay.
We're okay.
And and then we're also going to talk about it is the end of the year, and Untapped has gone ahead and released their 2021 year in beer statistics for all Untapped users. So we're going to talk about Chris's and mine Untapped stats this year. How we did.
Look, we did great.
We did great. I haven't seen your numbers yet, so I'm kind of curious to see how you did. But
you beat me every year. And it's amazing because you beat me every year, and I check into it as much as I possibly can, and you're just a step ahead of me pretty much every year. And that just drives me to be better every year.
That's right. I'm pushing you to be the best you can be.
The best beer drinker ever.
Yeah. And we're also going to move along in our favorite breweries segment, and we're going to talk about our favorite breweries that start with the letter C. C is for Charlie. Charlie Daniels.
Oh, Charlie Daniels. I missed that guy. So Denny, before we get into that, I'm trying to figure out where I go next because I've got 3 beers here with me, and I'm not sure which to drink next because I have a beer from McKellar.
Okay.
So It's a Game of Thrones beer for anybody
Oh,
who's
yeah.
big into the Game of Thrones. I've got a brown ale with coconut, hazelnuts, and cacao nibs, and then I have one called "Don't Worry, Be Gummy," which is a hazy IPA, and I'm not sure which one to drink.
Wow. And you just got done drinking a pumpkin ale.
Yeah, it's
So,
gone. It's gone.
yeah. So if you want to shock your system, go with that gummy one, that Munich IPA. If you want to do a shock to your system, that'll do
We'll
it.
have that. And before, so give you a heads up, I might be a little goofy this evening.
Okay. Yeah.
Because one, it's the last show of the year. There we go. And I made sure I had a couple of beers before we got started, and I finished my last Sierra Nevada celebration too before we finished, and we may talk a little bit about this here this evening as well. I started putting footage together for a video for this, but we'll talk about this a little later.
Can't wait. Okay. Well, you know what? Again, before we get too far in, Chris and I always want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, because this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Schlemmer, Amanda and Kevin Argauer, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chandler Massa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Eric Ronley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. And if you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your hosts, or buying us a virtual beer, or even being a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. And guess what? We got some more feedback. I love it when we get feedback. And it's from John Ream again. John Ream of Trek Brewing wrote back in to give a little bit of feedback, a little bit of, help along with some content here. And he wanted to share his favorite recipe to cook with beer. And this, when he sent this out, I thought, you know what, John, I think we talked about this. And he said, yeah, I think we talked about it as well on one of our Thanksgiving meal episodes. So if you go back probably 5 years ago or so, you probably heard this already. But I'm not going to talk about it. We're just going to say the recipe is roasted garlic IPA mashed potatoes. And this is a pretty... I got a link. I'll put the link is already in the show notes that you guys will be able to just click on and go to that page. But it's definitely got a lot of steps in there. It's not the easiest one to do, I think. It says it looks pretty easy, but there's a lot of words. So just keep that in mind. But he says it's fantastic. So yeah, go check that out. Thanks, John, for providing some feedback and giving another recipe for our listeners to try with beer. And then our buddy Jim Kudzol, he wrote in to let us know that you can find a great price on a set of 4 B cups for $10, and that includes free shipping and no minimum order number. So you can order just one box of 4 B cups for $10 out the door. Maybe some tax might be added, but no shipping. And I'll have a link to that in the show notes as well in the link section. So yeah, there you go. If you want to get some B cups on the cheap, that's a great deal. $2.50 a glass. And
that's pretty awesome. I might use it.
Yeah, and they have IPA, which is the one for $10. They also have the stout and the lager, and those are for $11 for 4. And then they have the lager or the funky cup, and that's $9.90 for 4. I don't know where they got the $9.90. It must be on super discount.
Seriously,
$9.90 level. But yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, I did just post that garlic IPA mashed potato recipe to our Facebook page. So if you guys want to check that out.
Okay, cool. And Jim also, he wrote another email. He sent us a link to Untapped's top 10 breweries of 2021. Now, Jim is a little bit late because Chris had already posted this on our Facebook page, just kind of baiting me in with another damn
just
top 10 list.
Just a little.
He knows how I hate these things, and especially one that's full of so many, I literally said BS. It's just BS.
I agree with you.
Now, there's one exception, though. The number one being Treehouse. Although I've never had Treehouse, I still hear so many good things about it still today. So that one is probably, is one of the real ones that is okay to be on there. But so many of the other ones on there, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I don't need I don't need a list. I don't know why people keep checking in so many beers from some of these breweries, but Jim also had a little bit to say about Treehouse. He says, I grew up within 10 miles of where Treehouse is located. I am amazed at the volume they produce, given that they don't distribute. You have to go to the brewery to buy their beer. There is always a line at the brewery, and they recently expanded their parking lot to accommodate more customers. Treehouse was an early adopter of the New England IPA style, and they rode that wave. They also make really good beer, and it's an experience to try it on tap right at the source. So thank you, Jim, for giving a little bit of insight on there. And yeah, Treehouse is one of my bucket list breweries I will visit when I am in the area. I do want to go to Treehouse for sure. Have you been to Treehouse, Chris?
I've not been to the brewery. I've had a couple of their beers, and
Okay.
out of all the beers that I've had from them, they live up to their hype.
Mm-hmm.
They really
Good.
do.
Good. Good. Okay, well, thank you, John and Jim, for writing in and providing some feedback. Anyone out there that wants to be like John and Jim and send us your comments or questions, you can do that through email at tapthecraft@gmail.com or on Twitter and Instagram. Just follow us and tag us at tapthecraft. And feel free to follow us on Facebook at the facebook.com/tapthecraft site and join us live and comment on the posts. There's a lot of stuff that we post on Facebook that you can, find some good articles and some laughs and some banter with, between us back and forth. So it's all good. So go find it. And we do have a website. It's at tapthecraft.com. And we love to hear we like to listen to what our listeners also have to say to us. And if you want to do that and get your voice heard on the show, you can do that easily by calling our voicemail number, 208-536-3359 or 208-53-ODDLY, and just leave your comment, your question, your feedback, whatever you want, your craft beer journey. Hey, we like it all. So just go ahead and join in the conversation.
Yeah, I think we're just to the point where we just love hearing from you guys. So
Yeah.
give us a call if you're enjoying something, especially we have this big holiday break, or at least most people do. Call us and tell us about a beer you're drinking that you really enjoy too.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Chris, you know what? I think our listeners were disappointed that I didn't do the segment that you're going to do right now, the untapped, wait, let me do the whole thing. Let's continue the conversation because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
Okay, so we are going to, my internet connection is unstable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know that, Chris.
Yeah.
You're roboting.
What the hell?
Get everyone off of YouTube.
No, we're still on the good one. I don't know what the issue is.
It's okay.
But anyway, hopefully after the new year, we'll fix that. But first on the list is going to be my buddy David Campbell right here in Tampa, Florida. He is drinking a 2019 B-Bomb by Fremont Brewing Company, which he picked up from Tavor. No notes, no rating on it. But if I had to guess, it's at least a 4.25, because I love when that one comes out. But 2019 B-Bomb from Fremont. Sonny Paye, he checked into a bunch of different things, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, I don't speak his language. So his check-ins.
Can you translate it? Is there a translator?
I could if we go into Google, but like you said, we want to keep it a shorter show.
That's true. So, let's keep it short.
But hey, he's definitely checked into a handful of beers. And it's looking like a couple of them may not, a couple of them may have just kind of been average, at least according to his rating. But let's see. A few of them not making the cut. 2.5, maybe 3. Jeff Seiler, though, on the other hand, is drinking a Black Watch by Highland Brewing Company. Excuse me, at the Blue Ridge Beer Hub. And he says it's on draft. It's a delicious Imperial Stout, big chocolate and roasty notes. Jeff, I don't know why you just left the letter A there. Maybe that was a mistake. But 4.25 caps for that rating from Jeff. Next on the list, Bill Schlemmer is drinking a Mad Flow by City Lights Brewing Company, and 3.5 caps for that rating. He just goes okay IPA. So for that one, he also checked into a Poetic Hustler by Microphone Brewing.
Hustler.
Yeah, Poetic Hustler. Look, Denny, it's the names, it's the label art, it's the that get us to buy beers. And Poetic Hustler, I think, would have gotten you had you seen it.
Yeah, I would have got it.
He said good, but won't be a favorite. By the bitterness is off-putting to me, but still gave it 3.75 caps rating for that one. And then also had a Big Stout Holiday. Good stout. I'm not sure about the spice notes. Sid, like a little more subtle. He may be feeling like I feel right now, just a little buzz. Okay. But 4.25 caps on that beer. And speaking of Treehouse, Art Warcheck, now it's not a Treehouse beer, but he's drinking it out of a Treehouse glass. Art Warcheck, and by the way, he was my number one Untapped buddy this year, is drinking a Heady Topper by The Alchemist. 4.5 caps for this beer out of his Treehouse glass. And he just wrote Common Browns, which probably seems like he's watching the Browns game because he lives in the Cleveland area. Continuing his check-in streak for the 17,000th show in a row, Chad Lamassa is drinking a hazelnut brownie by Whole Hog Brewery. And he said the name says it all. It's a liquefied brownie, which I think he meant to type 2. Brownie with hazelnuts, absolutely delicious. 5 cap ratings on this beer that he checked into 2 hours ago. Moving on up the list, William Lake is drinking a Toasted Bock by Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company. Side note about Leinenkugel, I feel like that they don't get enough credit. They make some above mediocre beers, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Have you had you've had more than just their lighter shandy?
Well, I mean,
stuff,
like
right?
the original,
but their shandy.
The shandy I do enjoy, especially when it's a hot day or something. But also too, just their regular, what was it, a red ale that they. I think it was just a red ale that they started off with and then kind of expanded from there. But I've had a handful of things from them.
Okay.
Don't hate it. But he gave that 3.5 caps for that. That was about an hour ago. I checked into a hazy IPA by Lost Coast Brewery. Checking in at the K9 Beer Cooler, which if you look it up on Untapped is a strip club, or my house, if you want to look at it that way. 3.5 caps for me. And Chew Your Beer.
Robert.
We know him as Robert. Is drinking a Rush Hour Triangle by Tioga Sequoia Brewing Company. Yeah. He said, Rush Hour, my second favorite. 4 cap rating on that beer. Florida Steve, I got tagged in this one. And so did you.
I think I did too. I haven't had a chance to get that tagged.
I had to click toast on that one. Florida Steve is drinking a Big Little Thing by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. 3.5 caps for this one. And I hope this was for a good reason. After fucking around with the wife's car, I need a beer. Pretty smooth, but the booze comes through in the finish. So let's hit refresh and see if we have.
Who was that drank that one?
That was Florida Steve.
Florida Steve. Wow.
Steve.
Way to go, Florida Steve.
And
bust that car out.
I hope the car is running smoothly now. And Jim Kudzall checked into a Monk's Reserve. This was 3 minutes ago now. A Monk's Reserve ale by Spencer Brewery. He said, I found this in the back of my fridge. Tastes even better after 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I found this in the back of my fridge too.
And it didn't taste good?
Well, no, it was great. I actually like this beer.
Was it 2 years old?
No, it was canned on August 20th of this year. But this beer is one of those ones that I do enjoy as a pumpkin beer. But anyway, he said, I found it in the back of my fridge. Tastes even better after 2 years. 4.5 caps on this beer. Amanda Argauer says, Leinenkugel's Sunset Wheat was my go-to in college. It's like
Yeah.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity
Yeah,
Pebbles.
I would
That's
agree
right.
with you.
Yeah.
Eric Gronley, Liney's lineup after the Shandies have consistent quality. Some very good, not well-known lagers, Dunkels and Porters. They made a collaboration lager recently with Hofbrau that was great. So, like I said, I don't think we give them enough credit. Jim Kudzall said it was a Belgian quad. I think was the one that we were talking
So that's
about.
a good beer to age right there.
Yeah. Monk's Reserve. Yep. It's going to be a Belgian quad.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can sit on one of those for a while, I've been enjoying the older beers lately that I can get a hold of. But Denny, that is what everybody is drinking.
Nice. Well, good job, Chris. They missed you, but they didn't disappoint. They came back for more. They didn't let one, and we're even a week early, and they still had their check-ins.
So proud of you guys. Listen,
fantastic.
You're checking in consistently.
So let's keep the conversation on Untapped for a few more segments. I got one little segment that I talked about here that I kept saying. So here's what happened. Well, first, let me promo the segment here. So have you heard me say my unique beer count is going down? And now I have the reason why. My beer count really is going down. So once again, I'm drinking beer with my buddy Alex, and I noticed that my unique beer count is now at 4,400 when it was just nearing 4,700 a couple months ago. And I told him, I said, Alex, my beer count is down 300 beers. What the heck is going on? And I'm like, something, Untapped is broken. It must be broken. It's losing my check-ins. So then I start looking at my difference between my total beers and my unique check-ins, and I see that now I have 800 more total check-ins than unique check-ins. And if you remember, I mean, we've talked about this before. If I go back in the shows where we talked about my counts of how close, I was only like 100. I think I might have had 100 beers difference between my total and my unique, right? Now I'm 800. There's 700 beers that they've taken from me over the last couple of years. And I need to know why I have lost 700, why 700 beers had gone over to my duplicate, drinking. So I took a quick browse of the Untapped support page, and then I found this article, and this link will be in the show notes. So just remember, visit our website, click the link. It will take you right to where you need to go to find out more about this thing. So it's called My Unique Beer Count Has Decreased All of a Sudden. What happened? That's a great article. That's exactly what I was saying. They state the problem is you were at, for example, 1,150 distinct beers, and now it shows 1,120. What happened? Well, the solution, it's not really a solution, the description of what they did. So in order to keep our system accurate, duplicate beers are regularly merged. If a unique count has decreased, it's possible that you had checked into the same beers that were merged together. You can view your merged beers at this link. And at that article, there's a link to go to this merging site. And it takes your user, and then tells you exactly what beers that they've removed in the last 120 days. So here's how it works. I actually wrote this down so I can explain it in case people are too lazy to go out there and look for themselves. I'll just tell you. It's easier just to listen to me, right? Than to go and read yourself.
Tell me about it.
So let me tell you about this. So here's how your beer history and the merges works. It says the following is a list of beers that, so when you go to that page, this is what says on the page. It says the following is a list of beers that you have checked in that were once two separate beers in the last 120 days. But after further review by our moderator staff and or brewery, they are deemed to be the same beer. You can review the list below, and if you have questions, you can let us know at our help site. Well, thank you. That's not going to do anything, but you can let them know. Now, note, keep in mind that checking into... There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I have none. Zero.
That's because you don't check into much.
I check into all the new beers. I got to check into this one that I'm drinking here in a little bit.
There you go. That's what I'm reading right here. So the green text means that the check-in was to the correct valid beer, while the red text means that you checked into the duplicate beer, which is invalid. If you only see red text and no green text, that means your distinct count did not go down as a result of this merge. This means you checked into the incorrect beer, but then all your check-ins were moved to a new beer at that
That
date.
just means I did it right. That's all.
Yeah. So if you think that your untapped distinct numbers are going down, guess what? They are going down. So now here's a funny thing. I went to that page and it says I don't have any duplicates, but I know that I was just at 4,700 last month or whatever. So that's within the 120 days that they removed my stuff. So I think that page is broken. Keep that in mind. If you don't see anything, it may not be absolutely correct, but I know that I did not have 800 extra beers because I'm pretty good about not checking the stuff more than once, only if I have a special reason to, and that's why I have 100 or so beers that I did that to. So, yeah, so there you go. Now we know. So, oh, wait a minute. There's one thing I wanted to read here too. So, okay, so I forgot to read this part. So, note, keep in mind that checking in a beer that has its own entry for the year it was produced, i.e., Beer A 2016, is not valid unless it's got a year on the bottle as part of the logo or approved by the brewery. For best practices, don't check into any beer that has a year unless it meets this standard. If you do, you are accepting the fact that your distinct count may go down. So there you go. I guess I was gaming the system by
800 times.
800 times. I don't even believe I could possibly have that many duplicate. There's no way I had 800. I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but that's the reason why. Okay, we'll drop it. Let's move on, Chris. But now you guys know. And like I said, there will be links that you can just follow and find out exactly how many merged, check-ins you lost in the last 120 days. All right, so now it's time for the Brew Buzz, and the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week we discuss our Untapped year-end beer statistics, and we will talk about our favorite breweries that start with the letter C. Okay, Chris, I just got done talking a lot. You want to go ahead and start us off with your year-end beer?
I certainly will, and I'll actually I'll go back and I'm gonna share it on the screen too.
Oh, wow.
So that way you guys can see a little bit about what I'm talking about. Because I was trying to gather some information just to make sure I was reading the right thing. But every year, if you guys don't know this, if you go to yearin.beer in your internet browser, they will take you to this page where it'll tell you about your year in beer. And did you notice something too, Denny? It's presented by Osner.
I did see that. I thought, whoa, I've heard that before because Chris talked about that app.
Yep. I actually used Osner, OZNR, to buy a beer today. So a lot of breweries, if you're not familiar with them, a lot of breweries are using Osner, which is an app that you can download on your phone to sell their special release beers. Like here in Tampa, I bought one today from Magnanimous Brewing or Angry Chair, or when I go through my my El Catador Club, that's how I know I got a new bottle release that I need to go pick up, is through this app. And Osner is how you can buy those things now. Honestly, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it sounds good in my head. Yeah. But we'll go through check-ins. We'll start here. I checked in 272 times in 2021, and my average rating was 3.95, which again, you beat me out just a little bit this year.
I just make sure I have better beers I'm drinking.
That's true. And you know what? I can't fault you for that. I want that for you. My first check-in was going to be Unicorn Rides, and Unicorn Rides was from sorry, I just heard somebody out in the hallway.
Stillwagon Beer Company.
Yeah, Stillwagon Beer Company. Where'd it go?
Hey, you're giving away the secrets to the next segment. You're sharing our show notes.
Well, that's what I do.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do. Let's see. Like I said,
crazy.
Yeah, it's Let's see if we're looking at beer styles tried. We're looking at 83 out of 225. And look, I improved from last year.
Yeah, you did.
272 this year, checked into 272 unique beers this year versus 226 last year, which I'm proud of. And I had a mead that was my top favorite beer. Let's see. My top beer style in 2021 was a fruited sour.
Wow.
Once again, a few years ago, sours were not my favorite beer at all.
I wonder how many fruited sours you drank this year.
When you get into yours, I'll look it up just to make sure. But in Untapped, the top 3 checked in categories were first IPA, second was a stout, and the second was a sour ale. Number of breweries that I checked into, 136.
Wow, look at you.
I think that's the only thing that I bet that I beat you in this year.
You did. You kicked my ass.
Top 5 breweries of 2021, Cigar City, right here in Tampa. Funny enough, one of my top 5s is in Ohio. But first one, Cigar City. Second one, with Cigar City, I had 19 unique check-ins with them. Tampa Bay Brewing Company, which I had 11 unique check-ins from. Bastet, which I've only been to that place once, but it was with Joel, so it was probably like we got one of everything.
Yeah, and you drank 8 beers at that one.
Yeah, it was a good time. We had 8 check-ins for that one. Berry House right here in Tampa, which is definitely, they're a all lager kind brewery. I checked into 6 beers there. And then Ernest Brewworks in Toledo, Ohio. I checked into 6 beers there, which I was there for a friend's wedding. So I figured friends of ours go to that place a lot. Ernest Brewworks in Toledo, Ohio. So I figured, well, if they go there a lot, I got to check it out and see what's going on. My top drinking buddy was my buddy Art Warchek.
Nice.
Who I just talked about him drinking a heady topper out of his treehouse glass. So it had a better year. I feel like we improve every year, Denny. That's a good thing. So let's hear about your check-ins and your year in beer.
Okay. So I was a little bit higher than you with 319 total unique check-ins at the time this was created. And I had 270 last time. So I had almost as much as you had this year, last year.
Yep. That means I have some drinking to do before the end of the year.
Yeah. So I'm not quite now. I'm still under 1 unique beer per day.
Right.
My buddy Alex, he had 2 unique beers per day.
I'm sorry. Did you say 2?
746. I think
Alex,
was his number for check-ins for.
Tell me
for
your
last
secrets.
He does a lot of bottle shares and a lot of tastings. So
that's fair.
He went to a bunch of festivals that were in Europe and stuff. So he's had a lot of taste and stuff. So but I feel pretty good for 319, and I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in Boise the entire year and went to Pocatello to visit my daughter, which we'll see here in a minute. Okay. My average rating, 3.99. I've been drinking a lot of good beer this year for an average of 4. Which is good. I have rated some, I have rated some beers below a 3 even, and some beers I just decided not to rate because I just didn't feel like rating it because I think something might have been wrong with the, with the pour or something, with the container or whatever. I don't want to rate a beer that I think might have just been contamination or something, so I just don't rate it. But I did have a few below, 3s and below 3s this year. I think I even had a half cap at one point. From a beer I really didn't like, which I can't remember what it is, but still, even with that, I don't know how many 5s I had, but I probably had quite a few 5 cap ratings this year. I had a lot of good beer, so that's good. My first check-in 2021 was Foothills Brewing's Sexual Chocolate Imperial Stout. Gave that one a 4.5 cap rating, and that was from our listener Jeff Seiler. Sent a nice little gift, end of the year gift, to thank Chris and I for helping him through a pretty, a 2020 which everyone was, was having trouble. I'm glad that we were able to help our listeners out along in last year and this year to get through the pandemic and at least have something to get their mind off of everything else going on. And
2020 can suck it.
yeah. So he sent us a beer, and I drank that beer, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you,
great
once
beer
again, Jeff. I tried 96 out of 225 styles. So Chris, you almost doubled mine. In fact, you were right there. It almost, just about doubled mine.
No, I only tried
1.5. You had a 50% more.
I had 83 out of 225.
Oh.
So
again,
again,
it was a Breweries. It was a
you
Breweries.
beat me
That's what you
a little bit more.
My bad. You're right.
I was supposed to look something up too. Fruited sour. How many different fruited sours?
How many fruited sours? Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you're right. I did have more beer styles tried. 96 out of 225. Not quite half, but almost half. My top beer style in 2021 was a hazy New England IPA. After saying that I was not going to drink that many hazy IPAs, obviously I'm a liar. I went ahead and drank a few. And then my number of breweries that I drank from, 117 different breweries. So that's not too bad. My top 5 breweries of 2021, Jim Dandy Brewing with 19 check-ins. And that's pretty good. I don't live in Pocatello. I live in Boise. So I either had to drive. I just spent quite a bit of time in Pocatello this year. And when I'm there, I'm drinking the beer. And then when my daughter comes and visits, she's bringing me beer. So she's coming tomorrow, and she's got 2 4-packs, bringing them down for me to drink some more Jim Dandy beer. So before the end of the year, this number might be 21 because I have 2 new beers to drink before.
I had 18 different
fruit sours. Okay. My second one is Lumberbeard Brewing. That's a brand new brewery I just found this year in January when we went to Washington. We bought our pickup truck, and I went to the bottle shop, and we bought a bunch of beers, and Lumberbeard was one of the breweries that we brought a bunch back, and I fell in love with the brewery, and now they distribute in Boise, so now I can get their beers all the time, which is great. 16 unique beers from that brewery. Fremont Brewing, 11 beers. Mother Earth Brewing, 10 beers. And then the Schutz Brewery, 10 as well. So that's tied for 5th was the Schutz and Mother Earth. And I visited or I checked into 17 different venues. How many venues did you get, Chris?
Funny enough, I don't think that was on my list to put in. So I'll dig that out real quick. But it's different for me every year because I check into an individual place.
That's true.
Every single time.
Yeah, you have fake. Yeah, you check into whatever is around you.
Yeah,
that's true. So yours is always going to be higher than mine because I check into real venues, and then Untapped at Home. For 2 years, I've been doing Untapped at Home. I think I'm almost to 100 badge level on Untapped at Home. I think I'm 96 or something like that. 97.
I checked into 56 total venues in 2021. I had 26 check-ins here. I had 26 check-ins here at home, and then I had 12 at my previous house, and then 10 check-ins at Joel's place. So like 26, 12, and another 10. So we're at what? Almost all of those were here at home.
Oh, nice. And my top drinking buddy is my buddy Alex Fuchs from Israel. And we had 3 drinking days this week. He was here last week. Really enjoyed going out and drinking with my buddy Alex. Okay, Chris, that's our year in beer. Let us know, what's your year in beer look like. We're curious. Love to hear what surprised you at least out of that list. All right, Chris. Now, this episode is brought to you, our listener, by the letter C, where we discuss our favorite breweries beginning with the letter C. So, Chris, you want to go ahead? So I just got done talking. Are you? You want to go ahead and let us know what your favorite C is?
Yeah, my favorite C. Yeah, so the favorite C out of my list, they're both here locally, and my one that we talk about a lot is Cigar City Brewing. I mean, I feel like most people in the country are to the point where they know about Cigar City. I mean, I even got a text from some friends today in actually my friends in Toledo, Ohio. They were drinking some Cigar City Highlight today. So Cigar City Brewing Company is always a favorite of ours, just because it's here locally. We get into their El Catador Club. They make some amazing just barrel aged beers, and then not only that, but they make some just great one-off beers too that we're able to get here locally. But the one I want to talk about is another local brewery called Coppertail Brewing Company, and that they're right here in Tampa, probably, I don't know, 15 minutes down the street from Cigar City. And some information about them. Coppertail Brewing Company, and this is from their website. It's they're an independently owned production brewery and tasting room in the historic Ybor neighborhood of Tampa, Florida. It was founded on the desire to bring more quality Florida brewed beer to the thirsty masses. And now the episode that we did with their Fermented Reality beer cast, Coppertail is now the official craft brewery of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, it is.
But their tagline is Florida inspired and Tampa brewed. And I love the story that they have behind the name, because Coppertail is a sea monster that lives in Tampa Bay. All kinds of things that live in Tampa Bay. And it says, we know this because our owner and founder's 5-year-old daughter at the time told us about it. Somehow, though, it seems like the perfect name for this brewery. Coppertail is the strange and fantastic that lurks beneath Tampa Bay. Coppertail is dreaming of the impossible. Kind of like the craft brewing industry going up against the giant mega brewers. The brewery became operational in the summer of 2014, and our staff brews on a state-of-the-art 50-barrel Rolec brew house. We have 2,000 barrels of fermentation space with tanks ranging from 7 barrels to 250 barrels. So they put out some really good beer. When I got the time to spend with John and Kristen, when he came to Tampa to visit, we went over to Coppertail and had a few beers there. So that's definitely going to be one of my letter C brewing companies.
Well, yeah. I haven't yet. I was supposed to get like a care package from Coppertail when we were doing the Fermented Reality beer cast, and it never happened. It never came out, which is sad. Also, Berry House, I thought they might send me some beer as well, and never happened. But it's okay. When I'll visit Tampa and we'll be able to drink these beers together. But yeah, I definitely am interested in Coppertail. I really enjoyed the interview we did with
Dr. Ken
Faust.
Yeah.
He was it was really a fun time and educational. I really enjoyed that. So that's still available if you want to go look at the Coppertail interview on Fermented Reality Beercast. That's still there. Also, you already talked about Cigar City as a secondary one, but we also did Joey Retner
that's right.
interview as well, and I thought that interview was really nice too. I didn't know anything about the background and the history and what they went through, and I really enjoyed talking with Joey and learning about the history of Cigar City brewing.
Yeah, certainly awesome.
And I'll be honest with you, C was tough for me because there's not as many C breweries, but I totally forgot about Cigar City. I do really enjoy Cigar City. And I'll put that on my honorable mention as well. But I didn't put it on my list because I totally forgot about him.
All right.
And I thought you would have Civil Society. I thought you might have on your list as well.
I didn't put it on there just because, I mean, the beers that I get from them, they were super special and they were given to me when we were doing the Fermented Reality beer cast. The stuff that I can get from them is like, I think really the big thing that I can get from them is their what's called fresh IPA. And I've had it. It's good. I've had it, fresh out of the can, maybe a week old from the brewery. It's a great beer. But I haven't been able to try anything else from them. And admittedly, that's kind of my fault because it's a little bit south of us, and I'd like to try some more stuff from them.
Okay.
Um, but maybe in the future, maybe we'll visit this alphabet again as we go
Yeah.
through this, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll see what turns up.
Okay. Yeah, we can
So
do that for sure.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your C breweries, Denny. So let's see what you got on your list.
Okay. Well, there was a no-brainer for me. So that was my first one. And the honorable mention is a brewery that I haven't drank the beer from that brewery, but I drank the beer from the previous brewery. And I'm a huge fan of his, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first one is Crux Fermentation Project. I've talked about Crux. In fact, right there, right there. See that? That's a Crux Fermentation trucker hat
Hat.
right there.
Okay.
I could probably reach back there and put it on my head, but I have, I've drank my Crux Willie Becker glass. I've got, we had two of them. Sarah broke one of them. It's okay. Um,
Still bringing that
but
up, huh?
yeah, well, it happens. It happens. But I love Crux Fermentation Project. Now they're out of Bend, Oregon, and this is one I've gone to a bunch of different breweries in Bend, and I still haven't gone to this brewery in Bend when I've visited because what whenever happens something somehow we just can't get out there to go see them. I do my next trip I do want to go out there and just spend some time in their facility in their area outside, hopefully during the summertime when it's beautiful out there, and just enjoy the outdoors, the view of the beautiful scenic mountains and trees and stuff. It's but the beer is incredible, and they do so many varieties of beer, and they do them all very, very well. And I just love their beer. And so for me, it was no brainer that my C Brewery was going to be Crux because I love everything they do. Have they have they given me a beer that I didn't really jive with me? Yeah, of course. Every brewery will do that. But for the most part, four and above rated beers for all of them. They're really good. So their tagline is "It's all about the beer." And the founder and brewmaster, Larry Cider, has been saying it since day one. And so do the brewers, chefs, and servers. They've even got a few regulars saying it by now. So that's their little tagline they have on their website. It's all about the beer. And it is true. They, the beer is fantastic. They focus on the beer. Uh, they do a Pink Boot Society stuff too. They're really big into that as well. So it's nice. Okay, so I'll just read what they have on on their website about them. Crux Fermentation Project is a brewer owned and operated community committed to brewing perfection and fermentative fermentative experimentation. That's a tongue tie right there. I
Got
can't
all
believe I
that?
got that out. Of the highest quality. From their one of a kind brewing facility to their culture of true craft, everything they endeavor to do is driven by an authentic pursuit of the next great beer or whiskey or wine. You get the idea. That's just a kind of hint that they're kind of moving, you know, they started with beer, but they're moving into other spirit, alcohol as well. Some distilled spirits, some wine, some cider. So it's kind of they're broadening their portfolio. When it comes to the beers, whatever it takes to make it good is what they're going to do. Rare yeast strains, whole leaf hops, non-traditional brewing methods, experimental aging processes. This is truly no compromise brewing devoted to the craft. At Crux, they believe that it is possible to totally change someone's perception of what beer can be, and that there is a beer out there for everyone. Just try their beers, and I think you'll agree. Or, as Larry says, if you can't come to Crux and find a beer you like, you may not like beer. I think that's a good statement right there,
Yeah.
right? Which again, like I said, they have a wide variety of different styles, and they do every one really well. So if you can't find a beer at Crux, then yeah, something's wrong with you. When it comes to their fermentation project, they believe beer is just the beginning. From whiskey and wines to ciders, pickles and kraut, the passion for fermentation goes or knows no limits, and the commitment to quality is never in question. It's why they become a favorite of locals, visitors, and beer fanatics afar. There is so much to explore and enjoy beyond just great beer at Crux. Located in beautiful Bend, Oregon, our tasting room offers a wide array of lagers, ales, and experimental beers alongside house blended wine, whiskey, which is coming soon, cider, and beer inspired menu of fine eats, as well as a lush lawn dotted with local food carts, weekly live music, and unbeatable mountain views of the Cascade Range. So there's my favorite C brewery.
That's a hell of a story to go along with that too.
Yeah, yeah. I think it gives people a little bit of pros to go with the name, and I think their name fits what they do pretty well, right? They don't just focus on fermenting beer; they have a bunch of stuff. Whether they're making fermented foods to go with their with their beer and using the beer in their foods. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. So that's my favorite C brewery. Now I'm going to give an honorable mention. I'll say an honorable mention also goes to Cigar City. I really enjoy Cigar City beers. I just can't get as many as Chris can. I do get some here in town because now they got the good distribution with Oscar Blues and that Canarchy project or whatever they have. The Canarchy Coalition or whatever it is. But I still can't get. I only get certain things in. I get Fancy Papers, which I actually like. Fancy Papers.
That's
It's a pretty
good.
good
Yeah.
hazy IPA. I get High Ally. I get. I just drank some Maduro Brown,
Maduro.
which is really good. That's a really good
Mhm.
brown. In fact, I shared it during our Black Friday beer. Well, it wasn't really Black Friday, but our Black Beer Festival we had last weekend, and people really enjoyed it. I mean, for a brown ales never get any love, but that's a really good brown ale. And so, yeah, I do. So I'll give an honorable mention to Cigar City, but the honorable mention that I want to give right now is again, I am going to visit the brewery, and now they just opened the brewery or a tap room. I won't say brewery. They opened a tap room in Portland. So now I have a better opportunity to go and at least drink their beers when I visit Portland, Oregon. That's Chucking Up Brewery, and they're out of Bellingham, Washington. Owners Mari and Will Kemper have brought quality craft beers to their customers across America, Mexico, and Turkey since 1984, and are glad to bring guests their exceptional beer in inspiring, friendly, and lively environments, both in Bellingham and Burlington, Washington, and now in Portland. Here's a historic. So I'm going to have a link to a video, and I watched this video, and it's fantastic. It was before I found Thomas Kemper Brewery. They were in Bainbridge Island in a warehouse area in a town.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found them, they had moved out of that area over towards the sub base that I was at in the forest, and they had a little farm. They actually had a farm, and they had a barn that they were doing storage, all the kegs and stuff, and they brewed in a metal shed or metal tin roof metal building. That was in 94, 93, 94 when I saw them. So in 1984, they recorded on a VCR. I mean, yeah, VCR. I don't even know if people know what VCRs are, but video cassette recorder of the TV. And what's so funny is that I remember King 5, news and stuff, and I watched this 25-minute little segment. The beginning of it was the opening in 1984 of Thomas Kemper Brewing in Bainbridge Island, and they were talking about how craft beer came, starting to start up, right, and in Washington, and people were starting to go away from the domestic light lagers and going towards imports. And I was the same way. I was buying imports because I wanted beer with flavor. And now they're going and saying, you know what? I can get good beer flavor without having to pay that extra price that I'm paying for shipping it over on a boat. Now I can pay a little bit more for the beer, and I can get a really good beer that's made right here, fresh. And it was kind of a nice little video. So I'll have a link to this video. I recommend if you are at all interested in understanding the beginning of, fairly in the beginning of craft beer reestablishing itself after Prohibition, when laws started getting changed that allow for small businesses to produce beer that is, above 4%, alcohol, that it's a really good story. And like I said, Will Kemper is in it, talks about it. There's also this guy Finkler, I think is his name. He's like a beer store guy that sells beer at a store back in '84. Does a really good job of summarizing the styles and craft beer and I mean really nice job. And yeah, so I'll have that video in the show notes as well. But they have that video as well. And then Chuck and Nut has won both Small Brew Pub and Brewer in 2009 and Small Brewing Company Brewer 2011 at the National Great Beer American Beer Festival. So they make really good lagers. They pretty much only make lagers. And they did make some ales when they were Thomas Kemper, but they started with Thomas Kemper Lager, which was a Munich Helles lager. And that was just a flavorful Helles lager. And then by the time they got to where I had tried them back in 93, 94, and I was visiting there all the time because we would just go there and play horseshoes and volleyball and darts and drink beer and eat and have a good time. They were making a variety. They had mostly lagers, but they also had, they had some ales in there too. That was some wheat ales and some porters or stouts. I can't remember exactly. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I love their beer. And honestly, it was the first real craft beer experience was going to Thomas Kemper Brewery that got me started in craft beer, to be honest with you. I was drinking, Alaskan Amber and Red Hook. Those were two breweries that were producing craft beer at the time. I was drinking those, but those were not that close-knit feeling of going to the brewery and drinking it from the source. This was my first from the source experience, and I loved it. So that's why, even though I haven't visited this brewery, I know I will love it because I have so many memories of when he was brewing beer at the main brewer for Thomas Kemper. Okay. Woo! Wow. All right, Chris. That's it for the Brew Buzz. Anything else to say?
No, I'm excited to see what we come up for the D.
Yeah. No, D is gonna be I think it's no brainer that Deschutes is gonna be my top one because it along with Thomas Kemper, Red Hook, and Alaskan Amber. Those were all breweries that formed my foundation for craft beer.
Oh yeah,
because they all provided different beers, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll surprise myself. But there's probably gonna be a few D's that I really I really like. Okay, so Chris, let's get into our new and noteworthy beers, and you could pull from 3 weeks worth of beers.
You're right, and I checked into a fair amount of beers, but honestly, not ones that I thought kind of made the cut as far as new and noteworthy. I had definitely one which I'd love to talk about, but
Okay.
I'm going through. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going through my check-ins on Untapped, and I had. Okay, I can come up with three. I can definitely come up with three.
Okay, wait a minute. Before you go, Eric Gronley and Jeff Seiler have their C list.
Oh yeah,
and
so
Eric Gronley.
Tara.
Yeah, Eric Gronley mentioned one that don't think I've had any of their beers. Oh, Tara had one too. I didn't see Tara.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't see her beers. Oh yeah, I see now. So go ahead and why don't you go ahead and read those, or you want me to read them?
So Tara she said, my favorite C's were Crooked Crab in Odenton, Maryland, which I have a T-shirt from, which I really do enjoy. Conshohocken Brewing Company in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, and Cerveceria, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado. Denny, I'm so impressed with myself that I read that correctly.
Yeah, I'm glad you read those, not me.
So there's some C breweries from Tara, and then I feel like Jeff and Eric, Jeff had a couple, but like Eric said, he said not many C's for me. He said Castle Danger in Duluth, Minnesota, Cigar City, Collective Arts. That's a great one. I totally forgot about those guys.
Now I haven't had Collective Arts, but I've heard so many people talk about it. In fact, Chad Lamassa mentioned the Collective Arts and some stuff when he sent an email maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. Now I can't remember, but yeah, Collective Arts is one I didn't think about either. So that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because they not only do they put out some great stouts, they do a lot of collaborations with other different breweries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would totally back him on that one. Collective Arts puts out some great stuff. And Jeff Seiler, he said his C breweries were Cigar City, Central Waters, Civil Society, which we were just talking about a second ago, Cascade,
Yeah.
which
Good for
Denny,
sours. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
great.
because it's sour, and I just can't. I mean, I think they make great
It's
beer,
the
but
money.
it's
They're
the money
so
and
expensive too.
it's the money. Yeah, it costs a lot, but also my gut just can't handle it. So
Yeah.
I, I, I thought about Cascade, but Cascade wouldn't win over Crux because Crux has so many variety of beers that I love having a variety. Where Cascade is pretty much sour and barrel aged beers, and they're good, but they're expensive, and my gut can't have too many
Oh
of them.
yeah.
So
Well, and that's the other thing too, because that's if you can't, it's tough to be able to enjoy the beer and then also consume the entire bottle.
yeah,
But he also mentioned Cascade, and then he said Cerebral, which I'm
it's
not.
in Denver.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's in Denver. It's one we talked about. I mentioned it was one that Tara and Jim might go, might consider going to when they were in Denver.
All right. So yeah, we had a little bit of everything from around the country. Um, but yeah, Tara, that the folks over at Crooked Crab, they have a special place in my heart because they sent me a T-shirt.
so so just send you free stuff and you have a
Okay, so
special
it
place.
wasn't free stuff. I'm gonna admit to you guys right now. So I got a T-shirt last Christmas from Crooked Crab. Okay, and I was a little heavier
Oh,
then,
that's true. Okay, yeah.
and it didn't fit very well. So
It
what
was
I
too tight. It was
yeah,
showing off all
it was
your
it was a-
man
it was a,
curves.
it was a little snug.
Okay,
And I
yeah.
reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I got this T-shirt from you guys, and it's small. Can I trade it with you?" And they went, "Oh yeah, absolutely." They were very gracious in the fact that they were willing to trade shirts. And I said, "Look, let me know what the cost is. I'll Venmo it to you, PayPal, whatever. I'll send you a check. I don't care, whatever it is. I just want to be able to wear this shirt." And they said, "You know what? Take the shirt that you have that doesn't fit as well, give it to somebody."
Hmm.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
We'll send you out a new
Advertising.
one. Yeah, we'll send you out a new one, and someone else can enjoy a shirt. I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Well, now from this Christmas to last Christmas, let's see, I've dropped about 25 pounds.
Yeah.
So it probably fits. I haven't tried the other one, so we'll have to
Uh,
see. But I
yeah.
have I have two shirts from Crooked Crab. One's in that, one's one size, one's another. But um, but yeah, we'll have to see how those fit because I haven't tried the smaller one.
Nice. Okay, how
So
about your beers?
what about beers? Okay, so beers, I had one from Mountains Walking Brewery in Montana, which is a
Hmm.
state that never gets craft beer love. Um, but Mountains Walking Brewery put out a beer called Sweets. It was their blood orange and coconut, which I gave a 4.25
Wow,
cap rating to.
that's an interesting combination. Blood
It
orange and
was.
coconut.
It was really kind of, well, it was just interesting to put it lightly.
Hmm.
It was really, really good. The tart and then the kind of that savory sweet, like that coconut's got that almost that umami flavor to it, right? It's got some savoriness to it, but it's definitely sweet and candy like in certain aspects. That I gave it a 4.25,
Hmm.
and it was a really just fruited sour, right? We
Yeah,
were
there
talking
you go.
about
There's
that.
one of your fruited
One of
sours.
my fruited sours. Um, but I enjoyed this one a lot, and it was one of those beers that I enjoyed while I was out doing yard work, drinking it
On your
out of my
frost buddy.
frost buddy. Um, and that one I gave a 4.25 cap rating to. I had one here locally at Green Bench Brewing in St. Petersburg, Florida. Their Deutsch Langhaar, which was a Munich Dunkel. I gave it 4 cap rating. Denny, I will update it all in our notes here in just a second.
Okay.
But it was just one of those beers where it's, kind of nice and warm outside. You're just enjoying the sunshine, and it was a nice, crisp, easy to drink Dunkel. Sitting outside and watching, just kind of enjoying the weather as we do here in December,
Because you can.
Yeah. I always say this, but I never thought I would enjoy December as much as I do now. And I did have one more from Beer Zombies Brewing Company, the Zombie of Dankness. I gave this one a 4.25 as well. And this one was one that I had some fun with. I had some little toy figurines to take pictures of. And it was a really good, just kind of a good West Coast kind of IPA. And it was Beer Zombies. From what I know, they're out in like Nevada, Las Vegas, that kind of area. And it was very piney, very resinous, and then had that nice bitter kind of just hoppiness to it. And it was really just kind of nice to enjoy and sit and kind of separate those flavors. Just go, okay, well, I've got some bitterness here. I've got some kind of that piney, that resinous flavor. And then and not only that, but it had some really cool label art to it. That it was based off of, if anybody is an Army of Darkness fan, right? So you've got Ash versus the Evil Dead, anybody who's kind of into those kind of movies. But it looks like
this.
Yeah. Yep. So it was basically let me see if I can pull up the picture here.
This is Army of Darkness right here.
Yeah.
Actually, no, this is the first one. Evil
Dead.
No,
yeah. I'm sorry. Army of Darkness.
Evil Dead.
Yeah. So Evil Dead. Evil Dead fans. So the front of the beer, or the label art on the beer, is basically Ash, but in zombie form, and there's all these, the dead just kind of like reaching up and grabbing at him, and the label art was really cool. And I really enjoyed it just based on the label art alone, because I do Evil Dead. I enjoyed those movies. I don't know, obviously you did too.
Evil Dead. I mean, remember I was, in high school when Evil Dead came out, and it was like a cult classic for us. So, but it was one that you watch that movie and it's just like action nonstop. So your heart's just like boom, 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 constantly beating for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and even now that movie scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, no, it's good though.
But it was funny because I remember that movie. Eric Gronley said, "Good call on Central Waters, Jeff. I don't recall having a bad beer or even mediocre beer from them. All excellent." I remember seeing that movie if you were in high school at that point, then I was a little kid at that point. And I remember seeing that movie. I had a friend of mine staying over at my house, just kind of on a sleepover. And he called his mom and told him to come pick him up at like midnight because he got scared from that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about your new and noteworthy beers, Denny, because you've got a few of them I'd like to hear about.
Yeah, just two. I drank a bunch of beers. But I only have two that I'm going to talk about. I wonder why that is, because I should have more. Because we did have, like I said, I had a little get together for. Oh, you know what? I mentioned those beers last time. That's why. Because that was the last recording that I did. I mentioned that we had the Black Friday, and I didn't get Tom invited, which we made. I'm going to make up for because he's coming over next week. Going to share some beers with Tom Byrne. Some ones that my buddy Alex brought. But there's two beers I'm going to talk about for a week. Basically, it's only been a week since I last recorded, so I only have a week to go with. So the first one, I mentioned a while back that Mother Earth Brewing, they're in Nampa, Idaho. They opened their first big brewery there, and then now they're in Idaho. You can have two tap rooms two tap room breweries in the state. That's all you're allowed. And they opened a new, I think it's like a small brewery tap room, but maybe I'm wrong. But It's at least a tap room in Boise, downtown, and the grand opening was Friday. And my buddy Alex and I went Friday to go to the grand opening and see what see what it was about. Now it was crowded, it was packed. We were outside in the cold because every inside was just like, nut to butt people, just too much. But and for the most part, their beers they had, there wasn't anything special for the opening, but they did have they broke out a keg of an old Mother Earth, Four Seasons of Mother Earth, the winter of
Oh,
2018. So it's a 3-year-old beer, and they brought this out. It's Imperial. It's a double coffee or Imperial coffee stout, and I hadn't had it before, which was surprising because I pick up every single one of these beers that I can find because I love getting these Four Season beers and they're good. But I hadn't had it, so I grabbed that and we had one beer each because it was just too crowded, and we went off to we went over to Clairvoyant. You know what? That's the other beer, the brewery I forgot to mention, Clairvoyant Brewing in
clairvoyant.
Boise. That's another one of my favorites, and I totally forgot to mention that. But I talk about them a lot, but I would put them as a top brewery as well. They make some fantastic beers, only served on site, so you have to come to the pub or the brewery to drink them. But they really do a good job. So yeah, Clairvoyant. But we went to Clairvoyant after we went to Mother Earth, and they were having a special party. It was booked out, and so we had to turn around and go back out, and we went to Barbarian. Yeah, I won't talk about Barbarian, but yeah, this is their double coffee or Imperial coffee stout. What I said about this is the grand opening of the new Mother Earth tap room in Boise. This is a great beer that has aged well. It has a bit of cinnamon, and the bourbon character is subtle, and the beer is super smooth for 12.5% ABV.
Wow.
So this is my first beer of the night, and I started off with a 12.5% because I was going to town on that. And I gave it a 4.5 cap rating. It's really well done, held up very well for 3 years aging. I mean, I think anything that dropped out, it dropped out in a way that made it very enjoyable and just a good beer. So that's my first one. And my second beer, I only have two beers, and I have the bottle here to show everyone on that's watching live. This is Belching Beaver Brewery. That was one of my favorite bee breweries. In fact, my favorite bee brewery. Oh no, Boneyard was, and then Belching Beaver was my second one. All In 8th anniversary. This is their 8th anniversary beer, and it's called All In, and it's a Imperial. It's an Imperial coffee stout as well. Wow, I got two Imperial coffee stouts on this list. I didn't realize they were both the same style, but it is. So what I said here on Untapped is I bought this a year ago and was waiting for the right time and the right person to share it with. Well, tonight is that night. This is a really good beer with a bit of sweetness and a big maple, brown sugar, and chocolate flavor, like a chocolate chip pancake. Like imagine making a chocolate chip pancake and then pouring maple syrup on it, and it kind of had that flavor, right? And I gave this a 4.5 cap rating. And what's amazing about this is I've mentioned it many times that I really do not like maple syrup in my beer. And the reason
Mm.
why is it comes across way too sweet. But this beer didn't come across too sweet. It really came across nicely and added to the richness of the beer and did a good job. And I think maybe because I let it age an extra year that it really was nice. But look at this label. Isn't this label
Wow.
like incredible?
That's awesome.
I mean, it's a really good label from Belching Beaver. So, um, and this was 11.5% beer too. But yeah, Belching Beaver. And they have a new anniversary beer that's out now, and it's like, I think it's like $20 for a bottle like this. And
Mm.
I passed on it. I should buy it. I might go buy if it's still available. I'll go buy it. But
Go get it.
I knew, I yeah, I knew I had this one. I hadn't drank this one yet when I came across it, and I was like, oh, I haven't drank last year's beer. And again, I don't want to drink a 12%. This 17-ounce beer, by myself, being that sweet and that big. I want to share with someone, and I got to share with my buddy Alex, who is my my number one beer sharer, guy that I share beers with. So he really enjoyed it, and we had a good time drinking beers after the Black Friday beer fest we did. He came over for dinner, and we shared some beers when he came over for dinner, and then we went out again Friday night, and we shared some more beer. So like I said, we went out 3 times in the 1 week he was here, and really had a great time.
Good.
Yeah. So those are my new and noteworthy. Let's close this show out, Chris. I said we're going to keep it short, hour and a half, and we're right there. So let's go ahead, and before we close it out, let's go ahead and raise a glass to someone or some people we'd like to raise a glass to tonight.
So I would love to raise a glass to, guys, everybody who wished me a happy birthday the other day.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much. That does mean a lot to me. And I definitely appreciate all the folks that said happy birthday, especially to the post that you sent out on our Facebook page, Denny. So guys, cheers to you for that. And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
All right. First off, I like to give a toast out to our Patreon supporter of the night, and that's Tom Byrne. I mentioned him just a few minutes ago. And thank you, Tom, for your support. Really appreciate it. And he will be coming over on Wednesday, the 29th. He's going to come over, and we're going to share some beers that my buddy Alex brought from Israel. And I think Tom might bring a couple of beers too. So we're going to just get together and share some beers and talk about the story of the barley wine. What happened to the barley wine that was going on? There was a mishap. So I look forward to hearing the whole story behind that. And of course, I want to raise my glass to all of our listeners. I want you to have a wonderful, this is releasing on the December 30th. So if you listen to it on New Year's Eve, I hope everyone has a fantastic New Year celebration, and cheers to 2022. And being a former serviceman, I want to raise my glass, and I want to thank all those who have served and who are currently serving in the U.S. military services protecting our freedoms. I hope all those deployed are able to return home safely very soon. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and talk about our new sponsor?
So let's talk about our sponsor, Frost Buddy. All right. So Frost Buddy, specializing in cooling containers for your beverage of choice. Frost Buddy has the Universal Buddy 2.0, which is right here in my hand, which is the world's first universal can cooler for 12-ounce cans, slim cans, bottles, and even 16-ounce cans, which is what I was using it for this evening. Frost Buddy also has the world's first universal wine cooler, 24-ounce stainless steel mugs, and even stainless steel dog bowls. Mm-hmm. Visit their website at frostbuddy.com and use the promo code TAPTHECRAFT at checkout to let them know we sent you. Denny, there has actually been a few people who have already gone out and purchased these based on our recommendation. Guys, cheers and thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, cheers to all you guys. We really appreciate it. I mean, I hope there was a discount, but if there wasn't a discount, at least I'm grateful that you let them know that you came from us. That just helps. And I wish there was a lot more of our sponsors that would provide feedback as how many people came, because I know that Brewer Shirts had a lot of people come from us. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see the numbers on what we help them achieve as well.
But it's definitely cool because Frost Buddy, every time someone uses our promo code, we get an email, and I think, Denny, I need to update the email address that's on it. But we get an email that goes, "Hey, somebody bought one." Guys, thank you so much. Not only does it help them, because they have a really cool story behind their how they got started, and I'd love if we could be able to get the time to chat with them a little more. But
we should invite them on the show and see if they want to talk about how they got there.
And it's definitely on my list, and I've already sent that email out to them. But it also too, guys, it helps us. It helps promote the show. It helps us reach out to companies like Frost Buddy and get cool stuff to give away, and it helps us grow too and support our show. So thank you guys very much for that.
And we will be giving away 4 Frost Buddies in the next year.
Mm-hmm. These things are awesome.
Yeah, and we are coming up on our 200th episode. I think that'll be our first giveaway. Let's do a giveaway for our 200th episode.
So that should be that'll be in a few weeks.
It's in a couple months, but let's think about it for our next, like our first show of 2022. I think we're going to come up with our contest. We'll think of a good one, and we'll give away our first Frost Buddy 2.0, Universal 2.0 on our 200th episode.
Yeah, we'll be putting out a video here soon too. I already started taking footage of it today on this guy right here, because it's pretty amazing what you can do with just this little cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before, Denny. Like, we're using it. You talked about it on the last episode too. Just I've been using it while I've been out doing yard work and stuff like that, man. It is keeping my beers cold for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great, it's a great time when you're out at the, I think it's also good if you want to kind of hide what you're drinking. If you're out at the soccer game with the kids, you don't want people knowing that you're drinking beer or hard seltzer or whatever. You just put it in that thing, and now you have a nice, and it keeps it cold during the game.
Yep.
And you can partake without making a scene.
And you can use it just as a cup, right? You can use it as just a tumbler, and they give you this little insert that will fit the slim cans. Like if you like things like White Claw and stuff like that, like my wife does, it'll fit one of those too, or just the 12-ounce cans, or a 12-ounce bottle, or these 16-ounce cans that I've been using in mine today. I'll just slips on there and it's ready to go. So
there we go.
Pretty excited about these.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's close the show out, Chris. You can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned on the show in the show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. If you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
You will never find me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie82. And thank you, by the way, for reading my handles on the last episode. But you can always find me on Instagram and Untapped at MCK1345. And remember, you guys can interact with us on everything social at Tap the Craft.
That's right. All right. It is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading, listening, and we ask you to please tell a friend, spread the word. And of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And just a reminder, we release on a bi-weekly schedule. So every 2 weeks, a new show will be released. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers and Happy New Year.
Cheers. Happy New Year.